So for the audience, I want everybody to put their hands together for Mike Fernandez. Welcome into the St. Bernard West Bank Meetup mashup for the first time ever. So thank you for being a part of history and coming out. So today we want to cover exactly a little bit more how that's been going for you, what's been some of the challenges, how you've been overcoming them, and what have you been seeing in the market from a property manager lens, Airbnb owner manager lens, in-state and out-of-state. So first up, Mike, for the people that don't know, how did you even get into the real estate business?
Yeah, so getting started actually wasn't too far, right on Jackson Boulevard, right behind here, coincidentally where the Arpent office is right now. It was this little double that, you name it, anything you would not want to have in a property, this one had it. It had active termites, the rim joists were completely eaten out and rotten out, the whole ceiling was collapsed in from a bad roof. My contractor fell through the floor, like the foundation was bad, like you name it, and it had it wrong. And the reason my wife and I actually even found it, we were looking for a place to rent. We were living with my parents, my dad's right back there. We were living with them. I had just got out the Army. We moved back home. And so we were looking for a place to rent. And this one had a sign for both. I don't know how they were going to rent it out in that condition, but so we found that one. We bought it. We did the house hacking, right? That's something I think is probably the best on-ramp for most people who want to get started in real estate. So we bought it. We used what's called a FHA 203K loan. So it's FHA's renovation loan. And so we bought it, we fixed it up, we lived in one side and then rented out the other. And then from there, we kind of outgrew it. We had my son, and the side we were living on was a little 1-bedroom, tiny little spot. And so I found this fourplex that popped up on the market. And I was like, hey, I used the FHA. I still have my VA loan. And, technically you can use a VA loan for up to 4 units. So I call a lender and I'm like, hey, listen, I want to buy this with a VA loan. She says, you can't buy it with a VA loan. Thank you for your time. Call another lender. So we ended up buying that one. It's down in Violet. We bought the fourplex. For that one, actually, the day of the final walkthrough, we found active termites. Like, we were out there, the guy came to get the certificate and he's like, the termite, thank you, yeah, WDIR. He's like, hey, I can't give it to you. There's termites crawling in right here. Geez. So we figured that out. We closed. But I think that one's a good story of, like, I walked away thinking I overpaid for this place. It needs too much work. I shouldn't have bought it. And all the feelings that I'm sure every investor who's ever bought a property has felt. And now it's worth, double what we paid for it. Cash flow is great. So we did that one. And then we found a house that's literally right across the street right here. And it needs, same thing, tons of foundation problems, all these issues. And so we bought that one, fixed it up, and moved in. So we were 7 doors deep before we ever bought like a normal house for us to live in. And like, all the credit to my wife for that, because I don't think a whole lot of wives would be down to be just bouncing from rental to rental to rental. So I'm very grateful for that. And then even the house we live in now, like our first like normal house, as you'd call it, it wasn't even intentional. We had said this was 2017, 18, something like that. We're like, hey, let's try our hand at new construction, right? These houses in Araby, they're doing really well. So we bought a lot and we were going to build on it. It was me and 2 other guys. And we had finished one and we were having a hard time selling it because it was right on the back of a train tracks, which we somehow didn't notice before we built it. So we're having a hard time selling that one. We finished the second one and I literally had it listed for 7 days when COVID happened and shut down. So I guess it wasn't 2019, it was 2020. So literally the entire world stopped. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. I thought the market was going to crash and you know what I mean? Like terrible things were going to happen. So I told the other guys, I'm like, look, my wife loves it. So like, we'll just buy it and move in. We'll do a cash out refi and pay y'all what you would have made had we built it and sold it. Shows what I know, because obviously after a couple months, property value shot up like crazy. But so yeah, from there we used up all of our cards for low and no down payment, and that's the only way we could get started was house hacking VA loan, because dude, when we moved back from the Army, I might have had $10K stashed away in like some IRA or something like that. But otherwise, like, we had nothing. Me and a buddy of mine had started like a beef jerky store in the French Quarter that was like surprisingly not making tons of money. My wife I think she had just got a job as a teacher, which obviously they make loads of money. So like it was house hack or nothing, and we were ultra aggressive. Like every dollar we had went to a new down payment, and like I look back and I would never recommend it because we were probably one AC unit breaking away from like the whole house of cards.
And that's what I want to get into. So the objective or the takeaway I want from tonight from your story are best habits and best practices to make sure we avoid being that close to danger, right?
Yeah.
So what have you learned from that house hacking method of what to avoid?
Yeah, I think, again, like it didn't go bad, but I think it easily could have. So I would say making sure you have either the reserves or access to the reserves. And chances are, like, if I joke, but if an AC would have went out, we would have scrapped and figured something out. I think one thing we did well and still do well is we live below our means. Like that is a superpower, in my opinion, that I think is a lost art in today's world. But like us being able to live off of very little money allowed us to be able to, to reinvest every single dollar if stuff goes wrong. And I think let me finish that thought. To reinvest every dollar into repairs or whatever stuff pops up. And I think that's one of the misconceptions, that when people think I'm going to buy a rental property, I'll buy this double and suddenly I'll have an extra $1,000 to live off of, right? And then I can go get the car that I want, and they think that it's going to like change their day-to-day life. If anything, and maybe this is just my experience, but if anything, it's the opposite. Like it takes money out of your pocket every month. We're having to subsidize repairs because, the rents aren't covering that first. So I think people should get into rental properties, but with the right expectations, and that, hey, this is going to do a great job of building wealth long term, but it's probably going to be a little more painful than you expect those first 4 or 5 years.
And if you had to advise somebody on, hey, your next 5 units you need to house hack, from your experience with the banks, how do you stay most prepared and stay bankable to be able to exercise that option? Should I quit my job, or should I not quit my job? Or should I have reserves? Should I only marry somebody that's in the military? How do you make sure that you can do a nice run with low interest money as a method?
Yeah, no, great question. And actually, a couple of us were just talking about something along those lines in the back. So you mentioned quit the job. My advice there would be keep it as long as you possibly can. Keep that runway as long as you can. Pull every other lever, because you're going to be a lot less attractive to banks as soon as you quit, right? But one thing that I think is a huge piece that people don't realize, if you want to do house hacking multiple times, even though you technically you can go from an FHA loan to an owner-occupied conventional. That second underwriter is still going to look and say, does this make sense? So like, for example, if you house hack a new construction 3-bedroom duplex, and then you go and say, hey, I want to do an owner occupied loan moving into this 2-bed, 1-bath older home, they're gonna be like, why would anybody do that? It doesn't make sense. So if you really want to be strategic and try and maximize the number of times you can get those invest or the owner occupied loans, you would really want to think. So like, first one, maybe you move into one that has a 2-bed, 1-bath. Then after that, you can move into, ideally, if you could do a 4-plex, that's best case scenario. Because then any move in any direction is better because you're going from 4 units to 2, right? Then you go into a 2-bedroom double. Then maybe you go into a 3-bedroom double. Then you can do new construction or something. But if you kind of stage it out, you can squeeze every drop. Now, granted, very few people are willing to do that for 5 years, right? If the bank wants you to live there for a full year, very few people are willing to do that for 5 years. But if you can, I mean, you're talking, even on the conventional side, 5%, 3% down for each one of those versus 20, it's huge amounts of savings, and your ROI is going to be insanely higher versus somebody putting 20% down.
Yeah. What changes in the numbers when you move? So, for example, the moment you are staying there is the homestead exemption. There is a different type of insurance. So when you move out, what metrics change that may impact cash flow now that this is a true rental property?
Yeah, no, good question. So for sure, the homestead exemption, I wouldn't say that that's anything drastic. I think it's like 75,000 of value or something like that. Insurance, in my experience, and I haven't done this in the new world of insurance, but back in the day, it actually went down a little bit because you're not covering contents and stuff like that. You're just doing dwelling. Tenant covers their own contents. But again, that was the last time I did that was 2020 or so. So things are probably a little bit different.
One more insurance question. When you moved out and then put full tenants in all of the units, did you add liability in addition to the regular homeowners?
Yeah, so I think ours always had liability, but we did bump it up to, I think we did an umbrella policy at one point, and they required, I think it was 500,000 or something. Like there's certain requirements to have the umbrella policy. But yeah, it's definitely a good idea. And it's, again, the cost of it is pretty insignificant for what you get and what in the worst case scenario.
Gotcha. So talk to us a little bit about backing into the numbers. So that COVID house that was beautifully positioned next to a railroad that was installed after you moved there, right? You said you could have just cashed out and it would have been fine. You didn't absolutely have to sell it. Do you remember what the numbers look like? How did you back into the numbers to make sure that you would be able to cash out?
Yeah, so one of the things we've always tried to do is have a plan B, right? So like if this doesn't work out, and we actually were really close to having to pull the rental on a new construction a couple of years after, but we always try to make sure like, hey, if it doesn't sell, how terrible would it be as a rental? Because chances are it's not going to be cash flow great. Otherwise, we would just do it nonstop. But how terrible would it be? In this case, we had pretty healthy margin on the profit side. So I want to say we paid out the other two guys, I don't know, 30 or 35 or something like that. And then my portion of that, what would have been profit, just got rolled in to our equity. You know what I mean? So like we were healthy enough on what it appraised for versus what we were all in. And part of that, one of those three was a GC. So like we partnered up with him and say, hey, one guy's the money. I'm kind of the operator doing the real estate side, getting it listed. The third guy is the GC, and he's building it at cost for, you know, when we turn around and sell it, he's getting his profit then.
Got it. So there is no true metric. So like, for example, the lenders will use the DSCR ratio. So when you do your underwriting, is it just cash flow strictly, or are you saying we need to be at a DSCR ratio of 1.9 or 1.5 or we don't buy it at all?
Gotcha. Yeah, so that was different with the primary intent being to sell it.
Okay.
If I'm looking at a rental, and it's so hard these days, man, because you have to get something so insanely dirt cheap, like a single family, for it to make any sense on a long-term, as a long-term rental to cash flow, right? So I look at, I'm a very much long-term guy. So like, I don't know if my advice is going to apply across the board, but if I can get $100, I'm happy, because I'm not buying it for the cash flow today. Now it depends on, you know, like where it is, what I think appreciation is going to do and all that stuff. But like, if I can get $100, I'm happy, because I'm looking at what is this going to be 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. You know what I mean? I'm not, we do a couple of flips, but most of my stuff is very much long-term. So I'm looking at, hey, is this going to be something good 10 years from now? And like, as an example, I was telling Aussie Steve about a house I bought down in Lower St. Bernard that like cash flow is probably honestly break even after everything's said and done. But I'm cool with it because it's right in the kind of path of progress of where that new port, if and when it comes, is going to be right down the street. And so, you know, construction worker housing, furnished housing, plus I think property values are going to go up. So I'm okay with, even if it's negative a couple of bucks every month, that's fine. Once I'm baking in like repairs, vacancy management, CapEx, all that stuff, I'm okay with it being a little bit negative because it's a long-term play. So like, again, I don't necessarily, that's not a license to just like, oh, Mike said buy stuff with negative cash flow. Like, that's not a license to buy bad deals, but I guess I'm not I'm not relying on that income, never have, you know what I mean? So to me, that was one of my big lessons learned is getting in. I was like, oh yeah, cash flow. I'm going to retire early and all this stuff. And then you get in, and you're like, Jesus, man, like it would take an enormous amount of rentals to actually do what most people seek out. But then I had this awakening of like, oh, this isn't a cash flow game. This is an equity game. Like this is a net worth long-term game. And it works really well that way, but it doesn't work the way that I initially thought it would.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the word retirement. So to segue into that, you ended up leaving that W-2 job, even though you said hold on to it as much as you can if house hacking is going to be your primary method of financing, right? So what led to that decision, knowing that financing has been working so well for you and you became an experienced investor with more options of financing? What made you leave the W-2 world?
Yeah, I think that was especially difficult for me because I didn't hate my job. Like I actually really I worked for Ernst & Young. It's like a big accounting firm. I'm not an accountant. I oversaw a team of like executive assistants, but I loved every single person I worked with. My immediate supervisor was literally one of my best friends. So like it was a dream job, super flexible, awesome benefits. And so I went to, I think it was pre-COVID, I went to my boss at the time, who's not my best friend like before. Like it was a different guy back then, I guess I'll say. But I went to him and I was like, hey man, look, I'm doing this real estate, it's going well, I'm thinking about quitting. He's like, whoa, hang on man, pump the brakes. What if we adjust some stuff? So they dropped me down to 32 hours a week. And then a couple years later, kind of same conversation, I was able to get down to 20 hours a week. So I was able to like push that decision off as long as humanly possible. And it was a work from home, like super, super flexible. So yeah, I look back and I think part of me says I should have quit 2 years earlier because, with that 20 hours a week, I'm certainly making more in real estate than I was as a W-2. But there's, I don't know, something about that like warm W-2 blanket, knowing like no matter what happens in real estate, no matter what happens, we got benefits, we got all this stuff. But eventually it did make more sense. So I think November of 24, I pulled the plug and jumped in full time into real estate. And despite, I think I mentioned this when we did the year review thing, I think 2025, if you look at it objectively from a mathematical perspective, for St. Bernard especially, is the worst time you could have ever decided to quit your job and go full-time as a real estate broker. Because like transaction volume had literally only ever been lower twice or three times, one of which was Katrina. And so like transaction volume wise, it was a terrible time, but look, God is good. We still had a great year. Things worked out. So it was a good decision, but I would say I go counter to the influencer, oh, just quit your job and jump in, burn the ships. Like, no. Like, let's keep some ships. Maybe keep some in Harvard just in case. So again, like I was happy with that decision. It gave us an opportunity to build up like a good nest egg. We were able to pay off all of our personal debt, to do both. And it was tough juggling both, right? Basically two kind of full-time jobs, but I think worth it in the end to give us the like safety net. If I was like 25 and single, that advice is probably a lot different. You know what I mean? Like Mike, 25 and single, it's like, hey man, YOLO, right? Yeah. But Mike with a wife and two kids is like, hey, I'll burn the candle at both ends for a little while to give that safety net.
Yeah. What was there a specific trigger that led to the decision of, this is it? Was there an instance or a transaction you couldn't make because you were on a Zoom call?
No, it was more, I'd kind of told myself like the benchmarks that I mentioned are like, hey, I need 6 months of a full salary set aside just for that. And then other than a mortgage, no personal debt. And then like after that, what more can I do to minimize the risk? So like after that, I'm just delaying it just to delay because I'm afraid, you know what I mean? So once we hit those metrics, it was like, okay, like there's nothing's going to change in the future that's going to make this decision a better decision. So I might as well just take it now. Actually, I thought about waiting until January because at EY's fancy, they do like $1,000 health reimbursement thing. I thought about waiting until January just so I could get some sort of like health kickback that, like gym memberships paid and stuff. But I decided I just need to rip the Band-Aid off.
Got it. So for the person in the room that's kind of thinking the same way that you were thinking, if you had to put together a kick your W-2 to the side toolkit, what would be in there? Before I quit, what needs to be in the toolkit?
Yeah, and obviously it's going to look different for different people, but one of the things I already mentioned is keeping the living expenses low, right? Like that decision is so much easier if you're living off of $70,000 a year versus 200, right? Like it just makes that so much easier to make the jump. The other thing I would say is expectation management. I had a conversation with somebody recently. He was thinking about quitting his job, and he was kind of asking the same thing. And he's like, I'm worried about. He's like, I feel like every business owner I know is just like married to their job, and they don't see their kids, and they don't go to the soccer games and all this stuff. And so I think you have people who are worried about, like, I'm not going to make $1 and we're going to be living under a bridge. And then you have people who are worried about, I'm going to work too hard and not be a good dad, right? And I think knowing yourself on where you fall on that is important, but also expectation management of it's going to be probably 4 years of an enormous amount of work with you being the lowest paid person, right? So like if you can manage that, it'll pay off long term. But I would say most of my friends and colleagues and all that are like W-2 people that are not like teachers or firefighters, right? Probably make more than I do. You know what I mean? But the trade-off is that there's a lot more upside. It's not just a 5% growth every year. There's a lot more upside there. But I think the expectation management that it's not going to come quick. You know what I mean? It's going to be, you have to have the long-term mindset for it to be worth it at all. If you're only going to be, if you need it to return in 3 years, then you're probably better just sticking with the W-2.
Yeah. So once you left, now that you have a limited time to strictly devote to your business, what did your business look like while you were at the W-2 job, and what changes and adjustments or additions did you make once you quit to take advantage of that upside you just talked about?
Yeah, so doing property management is something that I've always wanted to do, or for a really long time.
Seriously?
No, I mean, not like as a little kid. Like, no. No, not like since I got into real estate, right? It's always been something no human has ever stated in the history of mankind. I've just always loved property management. Yeah. Filing evictions today, as a little kid. I
just wanted to make sure it wasn't your lifelong dream. Okay, go ahead. All right.
No, what I wanted to be as a kid was actually a garbage man.
Okay.
The fact that they got to ride on the back of the truck was the coolest thing to me. But no, so like since being in real estate, it's something that I've kind of had like, hey, this is something that I wanted to work towards. I knew it was in no way, shape, or form possible or sustainable with that W-2, even at 20 hours a week, right? Plus, as a leader, if I'm starting a company, what message does it send that I don't even have both feet in? You know what I mean? If I'm trying to like attract agents and hire people, like I felt like it kind of sent the wrong message that I'm part-time and Caitlin, who worked for me, is full-time. You know what I mean? Like so I think that was a part of that quitting decision making matrix too. Reel me back. What was the original question?
So how did the model change for your business? What did it look like before you were working at the W-2, and then once you left, how did it evolve or change?
Yeah, so I think it was while at the W-2, we were just self-managing the ones that we owned. And then on the realtor side, I was just super selective. So like I would just only take stuff in St. Bernard Parish with people that I felt weren't going to be super difficult to work with. And I could be selective because W-2 is paying the bills. This is just kind of extra, right? But then obviously that changed, and I think one thing that trips a lot of people up is what got you here won't get you to the next level, right? And so like it took a lot of taking the realtor hat and the handyman hat and a lot of these hats off and putting the broker hat on and the CEO hat, and you know what I mean, like looking strategically and having to pull myself, which is something I still struggle with today, but having to pull myself out of the weeds and look up and trust that the team's gonna do what they need to do to make sure things get done.
What surprised you the most about that property management space once you got into it full time?
It's a good question. I don't know if there were any big surprises. I guess doing it as a DIY, I manage my own. You can muscle through not having great systems, which I did. Like back in the day, I look back and we were using like Excel sheets and like the free Zillow version of like the property management software, right? And like there probably were months, or could have been, that somebody wouldn't have paid and I wouldn't have had a clue, right? But like you can just like muscle your way through. Once you get to where you're managing for other people, and especially at scale, it's just not possible. It almost like forces you to, hey, you're going to set up systems and procedures and build this machine that's going to be a management system, or it's going to burst into flames, or you'll have a panic attack, because it's just, you can't do it without the right systems.
Yeah. And as far as your experiences with investors on multiple sides of the table, as a sales agent and now as a property manager, what's some of the misunderstandings that a lot of investors have about owning rental property?
Yeah. Let's see. So from on the management specific side, or just as a owner?
So let's go with management first. So expectations that they tell you on their first discovery call.
Mm-hmm.
What are some misunderstandings that you normally have to educate more than others on about the expectations about owning rental property?
I think the number one thing is a lot of people need a lot of fair housing training.
What you mean?
So like people will say like, hey, listen, Mike, I really only want to rent to people with no kids. Yeah, and like, hey, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Like that's not, and like people think, when they think fair housing, they only think of like race and religion. You know what I mean? They only think of like the big ones, but there's a lot that goes into it. And even down to how you process applications, how you reject applicants, like all of those little things that, dude, like it is a very litigious industry. And we have owners all the time that I have to tell them like, if you want to get yourself in trouble, that's great. I'm here to help you not do that, but I'm not going to let you pull us into a lawsuit, because there's a lot of like fair housing issues. And I think there's even probably less in a place like St. Bernard or even New Orleans, but like I think there's a lot of professional tenants that are out there looking for you to screw up so that they can get a quick buck. So there's a lot of traps that I think a lot of landlords who've just been doing it DIY don't really think about or pay attention to. That's probably the biggest one.
Yeah. What for the self-managers that's in the room right now, they have a vacancy, they got the listing on Zillow. What's some of the leasing fair housing risks that's out there that they should avoid? What should they not reply to in a message, or what should they not say during that leasing process to avoid a fair housing complaint?
Yeah, so I would read through. There's like tons of documentation, and chat can even help, or whatever AI can really help you build that out. But I think one of the big things is being consistent across the board, because even if your intent means nothing when it comes to discrimination, right? Like it's all in what actually happened. So even if you have the best intentions, it doesn't matter. But I would say being consistent in how you approach every single thing. You know, you can't, if I say, hey, look, all right, I'll do we'll work some kind of deal out with you, but not for Aussie Steve, right? Then like it creates issues. I would say that's the biggest thing, is you have to be consistent. You have to know what those rules and laws are to like avoid those pitfalls.
Yeah, got it. And as a company, as far as property management right now, what's your expectations on where you guys are now and where you want it to go now that you added this on to your business?
Yeah, so we are trying to do a better job of focusing. When we first started out, we're like, somebody's like, hey, Mike, I need a property manager. Awesome. Yeah, like we jumped straight into like sales mode. Mm-hmm. Now we're a little bit more, hey, let's have a call and make sure that like you're also a good fit for us and not just us a good fit for you. But we're really trying to focus, obviously, here in St. Bernard. There are certain areas of like, Orleans and all that we try to stay away from. My litmus, I always get it wrong. that test is if it's not something like, if I'm not going to send my wife to clean it, she helps out with a lot of the cleanings, or Caitlin to show it, then we're not interested. Even if it's a great opportunity, just because then it all falls on me and or Christian. It's not as sustainable. So like I try to look at everything through the sustainability lens. But I'm excited. So we're going to be filtering some stuff out, but I'm excited. We're picking up a pretty big, like 75 pad trailer park that we're going to be managing down here in St. Bernard that I'm excited about. It's an owner we're currently already working with, that they're going to expand and let us take over that. So I'm excited, but it's going to take some, again, like focusing, right? And kind of maybe shedding off some stuff that's outside of that realm of focus.
Yeah. So as a manager, if you could help out some of us self-managers in the room, what have you discovered about maintenance? That's normally what would kill cash flow the fastest.
Yeah.
Have you guys developed some type of approach in the office to either preventative maintenance, or there's some hacks and tricks that you learn to stay on top of maintenance to where it doesn't blow the cash flow for the entire year?
Yeah, for sure. We used to offer a like a preventative maintenance plan where we would go out and do quarterly walkthroughs, AC servicing and stuff built into like a monthly price. We kind of sunset that this year, but functionally we still do the same thing where we'll email everybody out for spring, for example, and say, hey, listen, we're going to be having an AC guy. It's $100, $125, whatever it is. If you want to opt in, let us know. But I think setting those up and making it easy for owners to do the preventative maintenance is big. One thing that helps us is we have Christian, who's kind of like our in-house, he kind of oversees, he has like a crew that does a lot of the like low-hanging fruit maintenance stuff. If it's changing locks or simple toilet stuff, whatever, they can kind of take care of that pretty cheap. But a lot of it does have to be vendors, and I'd say always have second, third, fourth string guys, because I don't know what it is about contractors and vendors, but you will have like a rock star guy, and then they just fall off the face of the earth. And it's predictably consistent. Like every 3 years, I'll have Joe Smith, and he's a phenomenal. Every time I call, he answers. He's there, Johnny on the spot. And then all of a sudden, he stops answering my call, and I don't hear from him for 3 years. It's unbelievably consistent how it happens.
Wow.
Almost every time.
So I'm glad you said that. What has been the most consistent lead generator for you for vendors? So for the person that's still self-managing, how can they keep a pulse on keeping a fresh bench of vendors to help them out?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say we've actually met a lot at these types of meetups. We've actually had a handful that are really good, just show up at the office and say, hey, I'm a AC guy, you know what I mean, or a glass guy, whatever. They'll just show up. But a lot of it is just the trial and error, the work, or we'll ask, we'll post in the West Bank meetup group, right? Hey, anybody have a good AC guy? We were managing some in Hammond for a while, and it was a struggle to get our guys from here to go there. And I know those Facebook groups were really, really helpful for those to say, hey, I need a plumber, I need this, I need that. And so I would say Facebook, social media is probably your best bet for finding new people. But even that is going to take trial and error.
Yeah. And have you developed a way to kind of speed up that trial and error, or kind of give them a smaller project or a pet project before sending them in a unit, either with a tenant or even to do very precise work?
Yeah, it really depends. Because there's times where we're in a crunch, you know what I mean? Like our first and second string guy are out of town for Mardi Gras, and toilet's backed up. So like I got no choice but to rely on the new guy or something. But yeah, we like to give them something small, test them out, keep a close eye. It's just not always feasible.
Yeah. Awesome. And it's big ticket items is what could punch us in the stomach for sure. Mm-hmm. I say if I did house hack the right way, the property is cash flowing. What's some of those large maintenance issues I still need to look out for that you seeing more reoccurring now than before?
Let's see. I mean, all the normal obvious stuff. One thing that we've been burned on, and I've been seeing it come up pretty consistently with clients on the buyer side is the sewer lines. I don't know, I'm sure it's across the board, but I know here in St. Bernard, a lot of places were built in that like mid 60s, and they were all built with either terracotta or cast iron. And so I would say of those age ranch houses, probably 1 in 3 where I have a buyer coming in, there's some issue with those pipes. And we got burned on a flip we bought at the foreclosure auction that we found out after needed a whole new sewer line. It was like 13 grand or something like that. But so I would say that's the biggest one, where like you can $300 inspection can save you 13 grand. You know what I mean? Probably a big one. But as far as like recurring on the rental side, that hopefully you'll know when you buy it, right, for that. But yeah, I mean, I'd say otherwise just the normal stuff. AC, tenants shoving 1,000 wet wipes down the toilet, which we literally just had today. Yeah. But yeah, all the normal stuff.
Yeah, got it. So now to switch gears to the sales side, since you've been full time, and I know you love data, what has been your experience this year or last year all the way up to this year with the market, and what's your opinion or your expectations on where it's going these next 12 months?
Yeah, crystal ball. So yeah, like I said, from a transaction volume perspective here in St. Bernard, it was really rough last year. Prices, it's interesting, if you look at the like MLS Flex, like the Rome data or whatever, right? It looks like St. Bernard had like a 20% drop off from the peak in 2022 or whatever it was to now. There's a lot of context in there that really matters, because I was telling OCC this earlier, new construction, like back in 2017, I think, or 2016, St. Bernard was like one of the top 10 fastest growing suburbs in all of America, right? Like tons of new construction. It was booming everywhere. And back then, I think in 2021, like 1 in every 3 houses here was new construction, which obviously is much higher price tag. Today, it's 1 in 10. So like new construction just completely fell off of a cliff. From the builders have kind of held their prices for the most part, but the inventory is like 2 years or something crazy like that. So like the normal resale houses, the older ranch houses, you might have seen like a 5% drop, you know what I mean, total from peak to trough. I think we're on the back side of that now. We're starting to see some activity picking back up. But we did see, obviously, transaction volume was rough. We're still at like 8 months of inventory here in St. Bernard Parish. Now, again, I think a big part of that is if you pull new construction out of that, it might drop to 6 or something like that, but it's still not excellent. It's harder to sell. It's a buyer's market. Starting to feel some energy coming back. You know what I mean? I think this is purely anecdotal, but I think we got hit with insurance earlier than most of the metro area. And I think the 1-2 punch with that and interest rates at the same time, it just kind of like, it was shock and awe. You know what I mean? It really made a big impact on transaction volume. And then obviously the lock-in effect, where there's no buyers, but we also have no sellers. So like, thankfully prices didn't fall, but transaction volume just evaporated.
Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned that. So now, what are some new evolutions have you either been hearing about or actually been seeing in the insurance space? Are there new carriers that you've been seeing? Are there some new coverage hacks that you've been seeing? Have we been able to drop when it held down and raise some other things to get premiums down? What's some new things you've been seeing recently?
Yeah, I mean, we go and watch. If y'all haven't seen it, I'll post it in a West Bank group. But I interviewed Ashley, I can't remember his last name, but with Compass Inspections, and he talked about all these like really cool, helpful things that you can do for like wind mitigation surveys and all. One of them that's a huge impact is gable bracing. So like he was saying, modern houses, the gables are so the difference between a hip and a gable roof, right, is a gable, think like a TP or A-frame roof where it just catches that wind. A hip roof is slanted down, right? And so he was saying that's actually a really big impact on your insurance. And so you can go in and brace that gable, and insurance will treat it the same way it will a hip roof. There's a lot of like small things you can do to get that wind mitigation survey, which will really help. I saw the Department of Insurance just released a thing saying that there's more insurance carriers coming and rates are going down. So I don't think it's going to be an overnight drastic, but things are getting better. Knock on wood. Hopefully we have another slow hurricane season. So I think my opinion of the future is on insurance and interest rates. I don't think it's going to be anything drastic, but I think it's going to be slow and steady improvements over the next couple of years. I don't think 2025 is going to look drastically different than 2026 is going to look drastically different than 25. Maybe a little bit more transaction volume, but that could just be me being hopeful and optimistic. But I don't think we're going to see rates plummet. I don't think we're going to see insurance plummet. I just think it's going to be this slow, gradual, getting better and better, over time.
Yeah. And what about going back to property management, renters insurance? Are you guys requiring it? Are you guys seeing where it kicked in and protected the company? What have you been seeing renters insurance being able to help investors?
Yeah. So we actually just we launched 2 new things that I'm really excited about. One is that the resident benefit package through Second Nature. I'm sure there's others, but we use Second Nature. And so they offer, it's like $50 a month for the tenant. And it includes renter's insurance. It covers all their belongings. It covers the owner if there's a kitchen fire. It even has $10,000 built in for dog bites specifically, which a lot of tenant insurance doesn't cover. So it has the insurance. It gives them AC filters delivered to their door. I think it has other stuff. Oh, it has pest control, like up to 4 times a year, completely free. Identity protection, some gift cards and stuff, but mostly it's the insurance, the filters, and the pest control. So we launched that, and of course there's obviously some pushback initially, but I think the residents are really starting to like it once they can start seeing the benefits. So yeah, that was one of the biggest friction points before we did the resident benefit package, because it's in the lease and everyone's required to have renter's insurance. But the logistics of getting it from them, putting it in a tracker, making sure they don't cancel it, making sure we're listed as additionally insured is a complete nightmare. And it just, to be frank, didn't get done hardly at all, just because it's such a nightmare. And so this simplified it. They take everything, they handle all the coordination and logistics for that. It's been huge. The other thing we just signed up with was Property Meld, which is really cool. Highly recommend. It's like this AI concierge for anything maintenance. The tenant has a portal. They can go in and say, hey, my garbage disposal is not working. And it'll bring them through like an AI chat of, hey, did you try pushing the button? Here's a picture of a garbage disposal. Did you try this button? All right. Did you try the breaker? Did you try the outlet? And if they can't, it basically sends to us to assign to a vendor. And then it puts a 3-way chat essentially in the app of the plumber, us, and then the tenant. They'll pick certain windows that they're available, and then it just simplifies that whole thing. So we're really excited about that one too. Property Meld, MELD.
Yeah. Why is it important for you or a self-manager to be named on their renter's insurance policy? Because I know some owners may say the tenant needs to have it because I don't want to deal with his damage. If there's a hurricane, their clothes get wet, they'll blame me. But further than that, how are investors protected if they are named on that renter's insurance policy?
Yeah, so my understanding of it is if something were to happen and someone had to go after their insurance, you are kind of covered under that umbrella. As opposed to like, yeah, hey, we'll take care of the tenant, but you're not on this. We got nothing to do with you. So it's a way to put their insurance to fight for you as well. If they're going in a boxing ring, you can kind of stand in their corner and hope to get some relief from it. You know what I mean? I guess it depends on the circumstances and how much coverage they have and all that, but you're kind of under their umbrella of protection, from my understanding.
And who would be the point of contact to verify that you've been added? Is it the insurance agent? Does the tenant need to send you a deck page showing Arpent listed on it? How you verify that they have been listed and we covered before they move in or while they already in the unit.
Yeah. So the benefit of that, the resident benefit packages, we don't have to deal with it anymore. But historically, it was getting the deck page, making sure, and then the system should work to where if there's any changes, it cancels, anything like that, we'll get a letter. Yep. But again, you have to have a whole machine built out just for this one thing. You know what I mean? It's very, very cumbersome.
Yep, got it. And for the person in the room that does have 7 units, 8 units, you were doing it on spreadsheets. What's some softwares that you're seeing out there that they could use instead of doing it just shooting from the hip, writing on papers, or doing it in Google Sheets?
I mean, we use Buildium. I don't think I would recommend it for like somebody who's managing their own. Like, I think it's probably even a little bit too robust for the number of doors we have. But I've heard good things about, what is it, Rent Ready or something? Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about Rent Ready. I've heard good things. I think Appfolio is a bigger one too. But honestly, I think the system that works is the one you work it. So like, I would just pick, like, I don't know if you remember Cozy back in the day. I loved Cozy. They got bought out by apartments.com, and you could manage everything in there. It was honestly a phenomenal system, and I'm sure apartments.com is still a good tool. It was free. It just didn't work for managing other people's. That's the only reason I switched. I absolutely loved it. So I would check that out, assuming it didn't change. But I think even if you do use Excel and all, like, as long as you have a system and you have the machine in place, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make, is they don't realize this is a systemizable, like, you have to build that machine. Otherwise it's not going to work when you need it to.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing on the financing side, especially with multi-units, either what you're seeing new from buyers trying to buy your clients' properties, or you representing clients. Are there new programs out there to buy multifamily? Does St. Bernard have any programs that would help investors scale their portfolio right now?
Yeah, actually, there's the CAFA program. They just started. I'm sure it's been going on everywhere else for a while, but we just got it here in St. Bernard, where it's that the soft second program, right? They've done in the past, but they'll give you, I think it's up to 3 or 4% towards down payment and or closing costs, and you can use it with pretty much any kind of loan type, and you can use it on multifamily. So you could buy let's say, use a FHA loan, buy a double. FHA is 3.5% down. CAFA can cover that program. Cover the down payment. The seller can cover the closing costs, and there are scenarios that exist where you could walk in with little to nothing out of pocket.
How many units can you go up to that you know of?
Is it 4? I think 4, but don't quote me on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can use it with FHA. FHA goes up to 4, so don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure it's up to 4. Yeah.
Got it. And on the refinances, maybe some of your clients or property management clients or even sales clients, are you seeing one particular refinance company or one particular trend on people putting 30-year fixes or just longer term debt on their multifamilies to keep them for the long term?
Not a ton. I don't know a ton of people refinance it. We just refinanced out of private money recently on a couple, and so we shopped some stuff out. I'll shout out Chase with Chase Bricado. He's been the best rates we found, man. He's come to a couple of the meetups and all, but he's got 30-year, and I think one of the ones we're doing is like a 5-year arm or something like that. But I think the one he's doing for us right now is like 6.6 or something like that on an arm. You know what I mean? But still, it's pretty good rate.
Tell us about your experience now, taking all that you learned from St. Bernard and picking up and going out of state with this Airbnb venture. First, what's the reason why you chose out of state, and what is the next steps with that investment?
Yeah, so we it's interesting. I'm trying to like walk the line of being focused and not trying to do everything all at once, right? But also diversify. I think it was like after Hurricane Ida, I had this realization of like, dude, every single thing that I own is in one parish that is susceptible to just constant pummelings by hurricanes, and that's probably not a good long-term decision. And so I had been for a couple of years thinking about going looking elsewhere, but that's a hard jump to make, not knowing any other markets. Well, when rates shot up in 23 and it looked like things on the sales side were going to go radio silent, we booked a trip, like an extended trip to North Carolina with me and my family. Like, well, hey, look, if nothing's selling, I might as well go hang out with the family, right? And we fell in love. So like part of us going to North Carolina is personal because we just absolutely loved it. But part of it is the property we just finished. It's like a 4-bedroom, 2,000+ square foot place, and I think my insurance is like $1,600 a year, something stupid cheap. So a part of it is, for a while I'd been battling between, I have a huge competitive advantage here because I know the market intimately, I have the connections, I have the vendors, I have the contacts, all this stuff, but it's very difficult with insurance, right? And so up there it's been, can I bring this lever down low enough to where it equalizes out, where I have some semblance of a structure in place where I have some of those things to where it makes sense. And so this is our first one out of state. I think it's going to be our guinea pig, so to speak, right? But ideally, I'd like to use it as the launch point, as a kind of base of operations to start, getting more in that market and buying some more stuff out there.
Yeah. So without taking that trip, you don't choose that market, or was it another
Probably
indicator that?
No, I probably wouldn't have even known it existed. And so like us going there prompted us to do some research. Otherwise it's, throwing a dart on a wall and trying to, or using chat, whatever, to analyze markets. But we would have never known that sub market even existed.
Yeah. So when your business is slow, take a vacation, is what you're saying.
And that usually it sparks, I'm sure any realtors in the room, as soon as you book the trip and as soon as you hit the road, your phone blows up. So like that's the go-to trick to get busy, is just go on vacation. Everybody you've ever been trying to get in touch with is going to call you.
Yeah. Got it. Good stuff. What's been the challenges with that? So, because for the renovation, you weren't there for the entire, you still had to come back home eventually. So what's some of the challenges with owning, renovating, and managing a project out of state?
So that problem has been mostly on my partner with it, as a GC, Lonnie. He's been handling the renovation, and so that ball just kind of got volleyed over into my court now. So he's been handling everything up till now, and now it's on me to kind of like manage, get it rented, get us making money. But yeah, it's been a challenge finding. We have really good group of vendor network here, but finding that up there has been tough. So he's literally been taking his guys and bringing them up for 3 weeks at a time for a lot of the like non-specific stuff, like not HVAC, electrical. Obviously we have to have like permits and have certain guys, but drywall, paint, all the basic stuff, we've just been bringing our crews from here and getting them to work up there as much as possible in that a little bit of time.
Wow. So finding vendors here, finding them at meetups, asking the West Bank group, what's been a routine for the stuff that Lonnie can't get to? What's been a routine of finding and trial and error running with vendors out of state?
It's literally just beating the streets because I'm not there. As much as I'd love, we joined the local real estate meetup or whatever, but with me not being there, it's tough because I can't go to the meetup. So it's literally just, and it's mostly Lonnie, to be honest, but just beating the streets, calling people, getting quotes, getting them to come out. When we do come up, try and meet 6 or 7 different people, you know what I mean? And
at the house?
Yeah, at the house. So we'll drive up, and then we just did it for the Airbnb side, where we had lined up on Facebook like 6 or 7 cleaners. When we were up there fixing everything up, putting the furniture together, we met them, interviewed them, got the prices, and so just trying to maximize the time that we're there.
Yeah, and what's the exit on that one?
So that's just going to be Airbnb. It's plan A. I think it'll work, not great, but it'll work as a long term. But it's a full stop Airbnb.
Yeah, got it. Well, as we wrap up, what is I would say the the gap that the group can help you fill right now. So what is it that you marching towards? What is it that you need, and how can we help you?
Yeah, so I think my overarching goal, above everything, is that intersection of where St. Bernard Parish meets real estate investing, right? I just want to be, and honestly, it's more of being, service and helping, helping answer questions or get people started or whatever, but really want to be kind of the hub there. We've also been getting more phone calls about like lending opportunities on both sides. So I've been kind of leaning into that a little bit, like where people will call and say, hey, I need private money for this flip for 6 months. And then on the flip side, kind of getting to know people who have capital and looking to put it to work. And so we're maybe leaning into that a little bit. So if you're one or both of those, reach out and we may have the right fit. Probably more on the capital side. At one point we were heavy where we had a ton of money and we were looking for projects, not my money, but a ton of other people's money looking for projects. The pendulum kind of swung the other way, but I'm sure it'll swing back towards the middle at some point.
Got it.